Hello there, my friends inside the screen. I am Ashley Celine Shelley, but you can refer to me as the Ashhole. I want to talk to you today about the recent live-action adaptation of the 2002 Disney animated movie Lilo and Stitch. There have been a lot of unnecessary negativities about the movie when it has only come out about 2 weeks ago. Well, since I'm posting this on 6/26 technically, then it's long enough, but still. Right off the bat, I will say that my rating for this movie is a 420 out of 10. That's 420 out of 10. Because I feel like I need to smoke a joint every time I read some whiny asshole's Facebook review over the most ridiculous complaints. My belief is that many of us are suffering from not my problem. Let's see, where was I? My belief is that many of us are suffering from what are called first world privilege problems. There are people suffering in and outside of the borders of America, around the world. People struggling with poverty, starvation, homelessness, human trafficking, unlawful deportations, wartime catastrophes, and many other forms of human, environmental, and animal suffering globally. With how much soap opera level political crap is happening in our lifetime, a lot of us need to check ourselves, check our privileges, and count our blessings if these things are not happening to us. Take a deep breath, detox from social media like I'm doing for a month. YouTube doesn't count. And remember that movies are entertainment, not the end of the world. Not even when you are looking for problems where there are none. I was unable to avoid spoilers on Facebook before I started my social media break because people have no respect and consideration for one another, so I will address the issues that the whiny people brought up. Number 1, no Captain Gantu. Captain Gantu, while a humorously serious backup to Jumba and Pleakley's attempt to capture Experiment 626, aka Stitch, would have been a distraction from the main plot of the movie regarding Nani's ability to take care of Lilo, a 6-year-old, when Nani was only 19 years old and could not even afford health insurance for Lilo and herself, which played a real-world relevance for the plot. Gantu would not have been able to blend in as easily as Jumba and Pleakley did with their human disguises, because he is probably a 20-foot tall shark with legs. Human disguises probably would not have sufficed for him, while Jumba and Pleakley were better suited for the mission for their heights, but more importantly, their knowledge and perceived expertise of planet Earth in Experiment 626. Hair and pants up a little bit. This is more even. There we go. Number 2, Jumba becoming the villain at the end. Jumba was always a villain or bad guy. He was a mad scientist who only agreed to capture Experiment 626 so that he could avoid imprisonment. Probably also saved money on the CGI budget and hiring an extra actor for Captain Gantu for Jumba to essentially play both roles. In a twisted way, also, Jumba was also trying to help Lilo because he thought that he made Stitch with only the capacity for violence and destruction rather than for love and family. Number 3, Nani's actress's ethnicity. Sydney Elizabeth Agudong is multiracial with Hawaiian ancestry. She is Filipino Polynesian and she was born and raised in Hawaii, on the island of Kauai. I don't know if many white Americans know this, but lots of Asian and Pacific Islander people live in Hawaii and have children with native Hawaiians. Yes, the actress has some white ancestry, but she still fits the criteria that is required of her. She is also not white passing, though looks nothing like me. And she does not look like a carbon copy of Nani from the cartoon. Half the movie was a carbon copy remake, while the other half got creative, added characters, and subtracted others. It happens. Number 4, Nani going away for college. Yes, sure, of course. Nani could have stayed in Hawaii to earn an education and become a marine biologist. She could have stayed struggling to raise Lilo when the burden of parenthood should not have been hers to bear after their parents died. While she was struggling to keep a job even before Stitch came along, as she couldn't make it to Lilo's hula recitals, and again, they could not afford health insurance, much food, and there were bills piling up that Nani could not pay. Try adding all that up, plus going to college to make something of herself that fulfills her passions, and imagine how much more stress she would have been under. Nani leaving Hawaii to study marine biology in San Diego, California was logical because it gave her a chance to explore a place outside of her towny bubble, make her more worldly and a well-rounded person who got to meet non-Hawaiians outside of the context of tourists. My sister-in-law started off as a marine biology major at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, before she changed majors to environmental science, and she was born and raised in California. She did this partially because her and my husband's paternal family has ties to Hawaii as locals over several generations, and they do have some Polynesian ancestry. Also, it doesn't hurt to get your education outside of where you lived all your life, because otherwise you may feel stuck and trapped. Number 5, Lilo going into the foster system / Nani abandoning Lilo. The social worker, Mrs. Kakoa, was trying to help both Nani and Lilo have the lives that they deserved and needed through stability, not to split them up. David and his mom, who were also the neighbors, offering to raise Lilo while Nani took advantage of her full scholarship to UC San Diego, was the best option that could have come about, so that Nani could have her own life for 4 years, start a career that she loves, then come back to be Lilo's full-time guardian. Number 6, the white tourist with mint chocolate chip ice cream being changed to a native Hawaiian with shaved ice. I am not completely convinced that that animated character was necessarily a tourist or even a haole. A haole being non-white or non-Hawaiian white person. On the fandom wiki, he is called the Ice Cream Man for every single movie in the television series, while in the live-action movie, he is credited as Big Hawaiian Dude. I'm not kidding. He is called a tourist in the animation media, but one, he is in every animated media source for Lilo and Stitch, which would make him a longtime tourist. And 2, contrary to popular belief, Hawaiians can not only get tan lines, but they can also get sunburns, especially if they primarily wear tank tops instead of getting sun exposure for their whole upper body, and if they don't wear sunscreen, possibly because they think that melanin protects them from skin cancer. That's not a dig at anybody in particular, let alone Hawaiians, just a lot of people assume that melanin means no protection needed. It's not. I definitely need protection though, for my skin. Look how pale I am. I did just do a cardio workout, so I'm kind of wiped with my lungs. So that's why talking is so hard right now. Number 7. Myrtle Edmonds being a native Hawaiian with no ginger hair and glasses. Look, I know that people are upset about redheads being taken out of Disney films. They were a huge minority representation for white communities in 20th century Disney animated films, but now Disney is trying to correct some issues of racism by making primarily ethnic-centered movies have more of the same representation and less white people, which I'm cool with. Jumbo and Pleakley were probably the only white people in the whole movie, not counting extras and tourists. Having more Hawaiian and Asian representation is better than giving too much attention to a little red-headed bully. Number 8, Lilo not beating up Myrtle Edmonds to the full capacity as the original animated scene. Lilo pushed Myrtle in the live-action film instead of pounding her face in, and honestly, I, as someone who finally got over PTSD from being in Myrtle's position 3 years ago, but from a 23-year-old instead of a 6-year-old, I actually do appreciate that the physical violence by Lilo was a bit more lessened. Also, Lilo did not do the pickle jar voodoo, and perhaps Disney either wanted to not offend pearl-clutching Christians, or they wanted to avoid a closed practice witchcraft controversy, because the cartoon was in the early 2000s, and I'm sure that nobody was picking things apart like they do in 2025. Number 9. No snide comments from Lilo about tourists. While there may not have been any snide remarks by Lilo or Nani about tourism, I can think of logical reasons why that would be. 1. Aside from the carelessness of tourists, especially white tourists, littering the island and not fully appreciating Hawaiian culture, Hawaii does rely economically on tourism. Also, 2. Disney probably did not want to alienate fans from visiting the Aulani Disney Resort and Spa. Stretch. Number 10. Pleakley not dressing in drag. Pleakley actually did dress in women's clothing about twice, but he did not put on makeup, and the comedy of the drag wear from the cartoon probably would have distracted audiences from the slightly more serious tones of the plot. Number 11. Jumbo not having a Russian accent. I cannot say for sure why they did not keep Jumbo's Russian accent, but maybe with everything happening politically right now with Russia, Disney maybe didn't want viewers to associate a Russian slash Slavic accent with a villain, as everyone in a whole country is not inherently bad, especially since Jumbo's character was changed to be the villain at the end of the movie, taking Captain Cantu's place. Number 12. Koba Bubbles not being a social worker. I actually like that Koba Bubbles' character was a CIA agent to start with, and then we got to see him pose as the director of social services, instead of getting very little screen time or exposition of his character, whereas in the cartoon, details of his character were vague and obscure. Another detail that I appreciated was that he said, "It is my responsibility to protect the American people," and David's mom chimed in with, "Well, what do you think we are?" People, including myself, especially white people, yeah, I'm guilty of this, often forget that Hawaii is an American state. Most likely we forget this because Hawaiians are free to practice their culture, unlike indigenous Americans of the mainland, or Turtle Island, as Native Americans here sometimes call it. While Hawaii is still colonized, they have more control over their land than indigenous Americans, who may or may not live on reservations. Number 13. People simply nitpicking. I overall enjoyed the movie, even more than I thought I would. I appreciated how the movie brought up real-world problems that were less subtle than the cartoon. I appreciated that my tickets were cheap as I went on Discount Tuesday, And I was grateful for the fact that my husband and I were able to afford a date night out instead of only watching TV at home with our kitty. I was able to pay a whole $13. Yes, I've never financially recovered from this. Using my Facebook income, because yes, sometimes I do make money from Facebook. Not a lot, but a little here and there. However low it is for now. I signed up for a 1-week free trial of Fandango Rewards, bought our tickets, and then canceled the subscription so that I didn't have to pay $17. I may have cheated the system, but it's smart when we haven't been to the movie theaters since either Beetlejuice or Deadpool and Wolverine. Thank you all for watching to the very end, and I hope that you see the movie with a positive attitude. Please do not let others determine your opinions for you. Thank you and mahalo to all 209 of my subscribers. I appreciate every one of you, and also anybody who's new here, welcome. Goodbye.